everybody. Welcome back. I wanted to get a video up. I haven't put a video out in probably a little over 2 months or so. Probably the longest span I've gone between putting out videos. I just decided to kind of take a break over the holidays. Our work's been really busy. We've been trying to do some other things here around the house. We're working on refinancing right now. If you do have a home, I would suggest on looking at what rates and things are in your area. It's been a really good time to do that. But this is the first video for me of 2021. My breath's in the air. The garage is a little bit cold tonight. We had a winter storm kind of hit our area, and I've also got a quarantined chicken behind me. So this is kind of a first time trying to separate one of the birds from the rest of the group and take care of her. So I'm probably going to be doing a video on her a little bit as well. So if there's kind of a red light or nod light below me, you can kind of see the birds here in the coop, or in the kennel, I guess I should say. So I'll do a video kind of explaining what was going on with her, and I think it was in part from my rooster, and I need to trim his nails, but it kind of ripped into her skin a little bit on her side, so we're going to try to get her healed up. And for people that have chickens that haven't experienced this before, hopefully that can help one of you guys. But I'm just out here, made some fresh coffee. For those of you who know, I do drink Black Rifle. This is one I haven't had before. So, being as that was a little bit cool, I thought I'd make a pot of coffee, put a short video together, and get my first video of 2021 up. But I went a little longer between than I wanted to, but that's the way things go. And I've got some projects coming up that I just kind of wanted to let people know I'm still making videos, the direction of some of the projects that I have coming up this year. Obviously, one of the things that I kept bringing up in videos last year was that I wanted to work on the tractor and get it situated and completed. So I'm not too far off on it. I really just need to make a push and get that squared away. I have a couple of other projects coming up. A friend of mine is asking me to look into building it's like a playground type of silo on his property. So if I do that, I may make a video for that one. I've thought about making a walk-in deer cooler here at my house as well. I may make that video. A friend of mine's asked me to possibly help and look at a man cave at his property for him. So a handful of projects coming up, and just wanted everybody to know that I am still going to be putting out content and making videos. And we just want to thank everybody that subscribed to the channel over the last year. It grew exponentially more than I could have anticipated in the first year, which in the scheme of large channels, it's I'm very, very small, but it far exceeded my expectations. But the main reason I wanted to also put the video up, and I think I titled the video "Why I Quit Drinking," which will be kind of getting more into the meat and potatoes of this video, but I wanted to get some of the business out of the way first. For those of you who watch the channel, who do know, I don't drink alcohol anymore. If you think you've seen me drink a beer in a video, I haven't. Occasionally I'll have a non-alcoholic if somebody gives me one while I'm working, but other than that, I don't drink at all. I know I've had some people ask me before, "Oh, I saw you drinking a beer in a video," and I'm like, no, it was a non-alcoholic. But on a side note, for anybody who this isn't your cup of tea, you subscribe to the channel, we're glad that you're here. If this isn't your type of video, by all means, we appreciate the support. We'll catch you on the next video. But I do know that it's a topic that people ask me about pretty regularly. I also talk to a lot of people in my personal life and through my job about why I quit drinking. some of the things that motivated me to not drinking, and the struggles that I was dealing with it. And you know, I had hinted around a couple of times last year that I was probably going to put a video out, maybe around like a half year mark, or I probably referenced it a couple different times for people that do follow along. But but for those of you who don't know, the middle of January was a year of sobriety for me, and that was, you know, it came very quickly. It's been a very odd year with all the things that's gone on nationally in this country to stop drinking. It's been, you know, and I think that's also posed some of, you know, its own challenges and stuff. But, you know, some of the reasons, I kind of wanted to, I guess, get to why some of the reasons that I decided to quit drinking. And, you know, obviously for myself, you know, for my wife, for my kids, were obviously paramount points for me to quit drinking. But alcohol never really posed a major problem, or I guess what you would see from an outside perspective problem in my life. I didn't have legal troubles. It didn't pose any marital issues with you know, me and my wife, or me being a parent. You know, I've never had DUI or anything like that. So alcohol's, you know, I feel like, and I've talked to a couple of other people in my personal life about it, the way that I see it now is in a totally different manner than what I saw it when I was, you know, still previously drinking. There's such a broad spectrum for our society over what's acceptable as far as, you know, consuming alcohol. And I think that's what makes it very confusing for a lot of people who may internally feel like, hey, I am struggling with this. But then, you know, they use the rationalization game of, well, I know so-and-so and they do this, and I know so-and-so and they do this. And then it just becomes this rationalization, or people are like, no, you don't have a problem. I mean, you almost wind up convincing people that you do struggle with it to some degree. Cut the video a couple of times. My battery's not liking this cold weather, so I've got it charging now. But you know, the issues that it was posing, like I said, maybe probably from an outside perspective weren't that apparent. But for me personally, they were. The issues were there. You know, I just noticed how much my alcohol consumption had changed, in probably even in the last 10 years. You know, that being said, I know people that drink more than I was drinking. I know people that drink less than what I was drinking. But it was, I had to start looking at myself and not worrying about what other people were doing. Actually, I've had to tell a couple of people this, that, you know, kind of will confide in me, or to say, well, you know, I don't have a problem, I don't have this, I don't have that, and that's fine. Like, I'm absolutely here to listen to what people have to say, and I love to help people, and I love to give people advice, especially in my personal life. But, you know, people will kind of, I feel like, try to justify their drinking to me, and, you know, I have to tell people, I'm like, you have to realize I don't care. Like, and as insensitive as that sounds, what I mean by that is that not worrying about what you do is what allowed me to stop drinking. When I used to worry about what you do was what allowed me to continue to justify my own drinking. And I've talked to a few people and explained it in that way, and many people agree with that statement. But the problems that I was dealing with personally, that I had to really start kind of looking at and deciding where I wanted to be at with my life and with alcohol, or did I want my life and alcohol to be blended? And basically the determination I came down to was that I didn't need alcohol in my life any longer. And It's not been overly easy to some degree. A lot of our social settings and social events, we're practicing Catholics. Many of my friends, my family, many people drink that we go to, and what I've had to figure out is that it's not a problem amongst anybody else. It's just you have to re-figure out the things that make you happy and the conversations that make you comfortable and the people you want to spend your time around. But it does take some time to kind of re-figure out those things without that social lubricant. But I just had to decide that it wasn't to be part of my life any longer, the life that I wanted to lead. So what I started to do and I guess the kind of how I got to that point was the times that I noticed getting intoxicated or my drinking exceeding what I kind of had predetermined in my head was starting to get a little bit blurry. The times that my drinking snuck up on me was getting more frequent. And I can even remember kind of having the feeling a few times where I was like, I felt like a little bit of my control wasn't there with, or I guess it was more of kind of the anxious thought of, am I losing control with my drinking? Is probably a better to sum it up. But, it's, like I said, I kind of had to determine and really step back and take a look at pros and cons and weigh it out. And I've explained it to many people like this before. As guys, and I know a lot of guys that enjoy having a beer, having a drink, and many people that kind of blur that line a bit with maybe overconsumption. It's many times where you get to that point, people kind of start to set arbitrary caps on themselves and say, well, I'm taking a hiatus, I'm taking a break, I'm not drinking this week, or I'm only going to drink at social events and things. And what I decided I needed to do was like, if I'm really going to decide whether alcohol needs to be part of my life or not, I need to take a really good assessment and weigh out the pros and cons of, do I need this in my life at all? So that's basically what I did. And, and long and short of it is, obviously the cons far exceeded the pros as to, having it as part of my life. And, a few of those things being, if you watch my channel, my daughter's diabetic. In the time that she was diagnosed with that, we were having our second child. So, and she's also got a secondary autoimmune disease now that's celiac disease. So her dietary restrictions are very stringent. Just multiple things that even at home are stress points in your life. And that combined with the fact that I'm an anxious type of person, that's something I've struggled with for about the last 10 years. Just a handful of other things in my life that I started really pinpointing predisposed me to not drinking properly. And I thought, I'm entering into this game already behind the ball. So the deck's already stacked against me. It's like people that go and spend their whole check at the casino, and you're pretty much already going in knowing the odds are not in your favor. Kind of the same thing as to the point I got to with drinking. So I just basically decided that I needed to make that change and that shift for myself. And it's been a phenomenal, great change, a great thing that has happened to me in my life. One of the things, I've had to stop and start the video a couple of times because of the battery, so I'm trying to make sure that chronologically I keep everything kind of on pace. But one of the things I had touched on before I cut the video was what I felt like a lot of times happens in today's society is people wind up actually having to explain themselves to other people around them in their lives that whatever it is becoming somewhat of a problem for them, or they feel that they struggle with it to some degree. And I feel alcohol is very much on that spectrum. There's basically two ends of the spectrum that most people look at, or with the people in your life, and it's kind of like, the very moderate drinker who only has one drink here or there, or the person who's completely at the lost all control. They're maybe living on the streets or whatever, but nobody really talks about that area in between. And there is a huge gray area with drinking, or at least I feel so. I think it's kind of comes down to a personal choice or personal assessment of trying to gauge where am I at on that spectrum. How much of a problem is it becoming for me, or is it something I don't need in my life? It can become kind of a difficult thing to figure out, but I don't want to make this video crazy long and chase down too many rabbit holes of explanations of why I chose this and why I chose that, and I'll kind of leave those things to the comment section. Anybody that has deeper questions for me, that has wants to kind of pick my brain on why I decided to quit. Also, about the same time, I'm a subscriber to Wrangler Star's channel. He had put out a video that was called Saying Goodbye to an Old Friend. And I think he actually was taglining off someone else that was also going through the same journey of quitting drinking. So I, kind of came across that at that same pivotal point, which actually helped kind of give me some information to decide to make the shift that I did, and to kind of take it out of my, being one of the things that I did, and take that out of my normal day-to-day life. And it can be very difficult, but I think you can do anything that you put your mind to. And I think there's also many people out there that are willing to help folks that are struggling with something like that. We've actually done some homework, some home repair for a couple different people. Well, actually one particular customer of ours that has struggled with that, and him and his wife both had, and they are now advocates for alcoholics, and they are phenomenal people. They've given me more research. It's been a journey, and I think you have to have that willingness, that openness to talk to other people about what's actually going on with them, or if you are struggling with something, or if you're trying to walk a journey. Nobody was meant to do those things alone. So I never had touched on the whole topic the entire time. Last year I'd hinted around a couple of times about it. It's still pretty vague. It's to kind of weave in every detail of why I quit and what led me to stopping drinking and all those things. It's just too many turns and twists, and little nuanced things here and there. But more than anything, I wanted to basically put out some reassurance to other people that may be struggling with that, or thinking like, hey, that guy's mentioned something about this before, but I don't really know why he quit. That interests me, or something like that. And I want this to be kind of a video centered around that any of the subscribers or people that come across this video feel like they could reach out to me or ask me, or just know that, we're praying for you if you're struggling with something like that. And it never got to that point for me where this has been some huge undertaking for me to do. It's had its challenges for sure, but I don't feel like I was so far in that some people have to, stop their work and go to rehab and all these things. I never got to that point. For me, it was more of a decision of, it kind of a split in the road. This isn't necessarily a problem yet, but it's also, could maybe never be a problem, but I don't really want to find out or try to figure out which one of those roads or paths I was on. So, this video could be a bit haphazard or back and forth. It may be hard to follow along. I think if it is something you struggle with, you probably can assimilate to some of the things that I said. But know that if you are trying to quit drinking, if you're not, you're not drinking any longer, or it's something that you're struggling with quitting, there's other people out here doing it too. And we're also, praying for other people that are doing it. So it can be done. And it took, like I said, it's sometimes it's easier to say, well, nobody around me sees it as a problem. I personally convinced other people around me that it was becoming an issue. I had a discussion with my mom and told her that I felt like it was an issue. And she said, well, I don't think it's this or it's that. And I had to actually tell her, I said, Mom, if I walked in and sat down with any medical professional and said, I have on average 6 or 7 drinks an evening, they would say you have an issue at some level. And it took me even just coming to that point for her to kind of pause and say, no, you're right, and so just know that you're not alone. There's other people that deal with stuff. Everybody has their cross to carry, their burden. I won't drag this video on any longer. Like I said, I can jot things down on a notepad, but for me, I hate being so scripted, and it would almost be like trying to read word for word. So when I try to kind of, freestyle off the cuff with my thought process, sometimes it can be a bit, woven in there, but I think you probably get the gist of the video. And, hopefully this helps somebody to know that it can be done. You can do it. And that if you decide, it's something that you're trying to do, you're not doing it alone. So I won't beat a dead horse anymore. Hopefully everybody out there is doing well. We will be keeping everybody and their families in our thoughts and our prayers with a lot of this weather that's hitting a lot of this country right now. I've heard some crazy weather stuff and power outages and things in Texas right now. I know a lot of people are kind of up in arms with the way things have gone in this country. And it's just been a very confusing time, a very confusing year. So, we will be praying for all of you all. We appreciate the support here on the channel from our family to yours. And we look forward to seeing you on the next video. I look forward to making a bunch more videos this year, continuing to grow the channel, continuing to bring you guys content that you guys, hopefully like and enjoy and maybe can learn something from. So we'll end it there. We appreciate it, and have a good night.